What's up guys, Draco here, talking about axes. Because, I've been thinking about axes because I gave a character, because I make a lot of OCs just for fun, and I gave one of them a very big axe and a shield, and then I realised that with the way I'd drawn the axe, it was definitely a two-handed axe, and I was like, well. So then I went on to a big, rabbit hole of working out if you could use a two-handed axe in one hand, or if you could use a two-handed axe with a shield, and what size counts exactly as a two-handed axe. And yeah. Also, something I found was, apparently you can use a two-handed weapon with a shield. There was a video by Shadiversity, which was really cool about it, where, because a lot of shields had, what's the thing called? Not a rope. I forgot what it's called, but, so you can sling it over your back. You can also sling it around and still have it hanging. And then you can, have it hung over your, arm while still having your hands free. How have I forgot what the thing is called? I really, I hate it. Why do I always know words and then when I have to discuss a thing, I suddenly forget every word that ever existed? But anyway, axes are really cool in my opinion. They were objectively not the best. Well, I mean, they're pretty cool. But their main thing is just the fact they were pretty cheap a lot of the time. Well, that's why most Vikings and stuff didn't use swords, because it was too expensive. Okay, it's also better against armor, but yeah. Axes are just very cool, but I also think it's very cool design-wise to just give a character an axe. Because it can show a lot, the weapon you give a character can show a lot about their personality. And I feel like a sword is a lot more finesse-y, and then, an axe is just kind of it's very clear-cut. I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but I feel like, especially with the way you describe a character, or whatever, the weapon you give them can very much help. It's not all, a one-size-fits-all. You could have an axe character that does many different things, and also you don't have to fit with their stereotypes of that weapon, but it can be very useful in giving a personality to a character. I also, because I do like classics, I need to know, to some extent, some level of detail about weapons. Not as much about modern weapons. Oh, a strap, that's what I was thinking of. How did I forget what the word for a strap was? But yeah, there's a strap on the shield. But not, just for the arms, but also, a long one to hook it around. Anyway. There might be a better name, but I think the word I was looking for, strap. Anyway. So yeah, but I think, what was I just saying? Oh yeah, so I need to know, a decent-ish. Well, not a lot, but I need to know some amount of stuff about weapons, because otherwise I read a bunch of literature and I'm like, great, don't know what any of that means. The whole thing about, shooting arrowheads through the axes, most people are like, oh, it's probably an epsilon axe now, because that would make sense. But if you don't know about that, it's how do you shoot an arrowhead through an axe? If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, at the end, Odysseus... Well, not at the end, it's what book is it in? 14, maybe? No, it's not 14. It might be... Have I forgotten this? Anyway, I can't remember what book it is. I feel like it's actually earlier than I expect. It's definitely not book 14. Might be 16. No, 16. The reason I think of book 16 too much is because that's Iliad, Patroclus' death. I can't remember what book it's in, I'll be honest. But yeah, when Odysseus goes back and shoots, has to prove himself, he has to shoot an arrow through... He has to shoot an arrow through the head of 12 axes. So yeah. There's a... I mean, I don't want to talk much about Epic, but yeah. Epic has a line, whoever can string my husband's old bow and shoot through 12 axes cleanly, and yeah, that's what it's about. I really like Epic. Whether it's a good adaptation, that's a different question. The answer is not really, but it's a cool musical that I enjoy. Anyway, there's loads of people who've discussed Epic at length. I'm not going to right now. Maybe I will in another episode, but axes are pretty cool, and I want to talk about them. So yeah, I am a big fan of just like, also weapons just cool to learn about, but also stuff like they keep throwing spears and like a lot of like ancient literature. I'll take the Iliad for an example, and it's like you have to have a vague understanding of what spear they're using, because like if you get like a pike, you're not really gonna be able to throw that. I think a pike counts as, they're both pole arms, but I don't know if they count as the same. Or I know they're not the same. But what I'm questioning is a spear... Sorry, no. Is a pike a subcategory of spear, or are they two different subcategories of polearm? Because I think like an axe is kind of a polearm. A halberd's definitely a polearm at least. I think an axe is a polearm. I need to have some level of knowledge about stuff. I don't have like extensive knowledge. Also, like, yeah, actually, I don't really have an also. I'm just saying, I need to vaguely understand, like, oh, here's the weapon they use. I don't need to know exactly what the terminology is. Beyond, like, there's multiple kinds of shields and stuff. So if you translate all of them just as shield, you need to know which weapon's actually being referred to. Because you can have a shield that's about this big, or you can have one that's like... Sorry, you can have one that's like this big, or you can have one that's like from the... like, up to here. Well, I'm sitting on the floor, so this is actually not... like, it wouldn't be as big as a person, but I'm sitting down, to be clear. I guess, to be fair, it'd probably go, like, way higher. Like, it'd probably go above a sitting person. Anyway. So, yeah. What? I don't really know what I was planning to talk about in this video. I just think axes are cool. I also, yeah, my opinion is very much rule of cool-esque. Like, if something doesn't make that much sense in a description, but it just sounds cool. Like, I don't know, for me, there's a fine balance between it's kind of cool, so like, it's cool and kind of unrealistic, but then, like, at the point where you're saying, oh yeah, they have a 20-foot sword, and they're swinging it around, and it's great, it's like, yeah, that wouldn't be very useful, because the entire point of a sword is that, like, it's a finesse weapon with the way to the hilt. If you want a giant weapon, just give them a massive axe. If you have, like, a 20-foot axe that's, like, and it's just they're super powerful, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Or I guess you could give them a big enough pommel that the weight would go back. But anyway, I don't know. Like, but then also, if I'm watching an anime and a character has a massive sword, I'm also just going to think that's cool anyway. So yeah, rule of cool trumps most things, in my opinion. But it's better if you can make it cool and realistic. But if not, I would say, like, who cares? Rule of cool is great. Axes are cool. Like, also, an axe like a metal handle is like... or, I guess, pole thing. That's why it's a pole arm, I think. Then, like the main thing was that's made of wood, and then you just have a bit of iron at the end. Or, not iron, but some metal. Maybe iron. But, like, if you're now making that part metal, it's like, well, now you're not really saving resources. So, there are obviously benefits to an axe over other weapons, but, like, the main benefit is probably cost. It's also better against, like, armor, but yeah. I'm sure someone who knows more about this would be able to talk more in depth, but I only know so much, and the amount I know, like, I know very little about very much. There's a lot of topics where, like, I have a baseline knowledge, but I don't want to, like, act as if I know everything, because I don't. I know very little, but there's many things I know very little about. Henceforth, I know very little about very much. It's genius. Unlike me, who's stupid. Yep. But anyway, yeah. That's pretty much all I had to say about axes. They're just very cool. I've really said the same thing about 4 times over this episode. I don't know how I've gotten to 10 minutes. Because I've said pretty much nothing, I'm gonna be honest. But yeah. Yeah, also, like, I make OCs and stuff for fun, but, like, I draw them, but I'm not good at art. But it's just enjoyable for me. So, if you're trying to get into it, and you think, oh no, I might not be good at it, just go for it anyway. I will support you all the way. Well, I probably won't be there to support you, because you probably don't know me. Maybe you do, who knows. If you know me in person, then I will support you. If you don't know me in person, then I can't really support you, because I don't know who you are. But yeah, have a good one. Enjoy making OCs if you do that. If you don't, enjoy just life in general. Enjoy whatever hobbies you do, and if you don't have any hobbies, try and get one. Pretty fun. Bye!